Hey gang, so a couple weeks ago Dark Design reached out to me and asked if I would review the Nexus, which is their flagship slider, and I was like, yeah, of course I want to look at it. So they sent it, I've sat with it for a few days, I've played with it, I have my thoughts, so let's go straight to the breakdown, okay? Let's go. Okay, here we go with the Nexus slider. Now, again, this is this was sent to me as a review, so typically I'm a little more open when reviewing sponsored items because I didn't spend my money on it. Somebody sent it to me and said, "Hey, can you give me your opinion? Would love to get some feedback, etc." So I will say that the designer for this product was very open to feedback, and I was quite honest with my feedback. So that's where we're gonna go. What I'm gonna do is I'm basically gonna give my. Let's start with the negatives first, but I will also kind of give you my negative impression on a certain part of it, and then I will give you the creator's response and what they have to say about that particular thing. Because always what happens is when I do a sponsored review, I write down all my thoughts first, and I send those thoughts off to the creator to say, listen, here's what I'm going to say in my review. It's not going to change my mind in terms of what I'm going to say, but I am going to give you the opportunity to respond to that concern first, in case there's something I don't know. Just to kind of be fair. So anyways, let's start by saying when I first got this, I didn't like it. I was not a fan at all, and I'll tell you why. Because I took it, I opened it up, one click, right? One click up, one click down, one click left, right. And I kind of felt it, and I was like, is that it? Like, I seriously just one click? So I sat here for the first, I don't know, like half an hour holding this thing and thinking, well, what the hell am I going to do with this review? How am I going to review this when I don't like it right from the start? I mean, it feels boring. It doesn't feel good. And then I did what I kind of forced myself to do with these reviews is I don't form any opinion until I've had time to sit down with it. So then I went and I sat on the couch, watched a movie with my wife, and kind of like if you've seen my JMEB review with that slider, after spending some time with it, my opinion changed. My mind kind of opened up to different ways to play with it, and I sort of discovered things on it. So let's start right off the bat. So aside from the one click, let's see why it's a one click. So it's a one click, but in an interesting way. So if you open this up, we can see we've got a track and a pin. So the pin slides around this track, which is why it's only a one click, because it starts in the middle and it clicks up, clicks down. Now you can go from, up, down. So it can be kind of a two click, I guess, if you start from the bottom, right? But that's not how we define a two-click. Typically, it's a two-click starting from the middle, and we count the clicks from the middle position. So that's why I kind of consider this a one-click. So it's interesting, right? We've got these magnets running along the side, and I first looked at it and went, well, those are pretty weak. But the array of magnets is actually kind of makes it kind of interesting. So let's go down the list of things that I wasn't crazy about and what the response was to it. So first of all, size. I found it quite big. Now, when you're holding this thing in your hand, because of the way you have to manipulate it, you're kind of moving around a lot. And I find my thumb is sort of forced to move, stretch, to try to kind of bring it back to center. Now, when I did ask him, actually, you know what? Hold on a second. Let me get his name. So it's Jonah, right? So Jonah Armstrong is the creator behind this. And so when I did, the first thing I asked him about was the size. I said, it's quite big. And if you compare it to, say, like a Magnus Dimple, that's quite a bit bigger, right? So here's a Magnus dimple in my hand, right? You're manipulating it versus you got this big honker in your hand. And at first I was like, my God, man, that's huge. And what Jonah had actually said to me was the reason behind the size is because he was kind of basing this off of sort of one of the original fidgets, which is the Zippo lighter. And actually, if you stack them up, they are basically the same size. So this was built around one of the original fidgets. Come on, you gonna light up? No? Okay. I guess that's probably a good thing right now. I'm out of fuel. Probably not smart to try to light a Zippo lighter under the lens. So anyways, here though is the original fidget, right? Zippo lighter. And that's what this was sort of mimicked after or designed, inspired by size-wise. Once I wrapped my head around that, I was like, okay, I get that part now. It's not trying to be a normal size slider. It's kind of this weird, not even weird, but this new size, this new space. It's not a standard slider size. It's kind of, it's sort of this slider toy that mimics the feeling of holding a Zippo. So I got that. Okay, my brain is wrapped around that now. So let's go with the second thing that I wasn't crazy about was the edges. And again, because of its size, you are kind of like palming this thing, right? This isn't an easy finger thing as much as you just kind of mash it with your hands. And because of that, there are so many contact points. And those contact points tend to kind of dig into the sides. So if you can see here, the texture runs all along the side as well. And so these sides get a little sharp, especially here on sort of after this bevel. Like you've got this nice smooth bevel, but then you've got these little corners that are like pretty sharp. And when I talked to Jonah, he said initially he had very smooth edges to it, but he found that if his hands got sweaty, it was hard to hold on to, and therefore went with some grip. Now, he has also said that he does sort of recognize that they can get sharp and they can get hot spots, so he has been considering on the V2, if he comes out with a V2, that he would maybe tumble these a little bit more and soften that up. So you'd still get the grip of the edges here, but you wouldn't get these hard corners because if flat on the edge is fine. It's only whenever it comes down to like a 90 degree or whatever, like a sharp corner here, that's where you get the digging in. So the next thing that I had kind of commented, which I thought was odd, was that on the one side you have the Dark Design logo, which is this axe, which is very cool. But then on the other side, you just have these 9 dots. And I found that was made the experience a little lacking because you've got this really cool design, super textured front. And then on the back, you've just got these 9 odd circles. And when I asked him about it, he did say he was open to adding a different texture on the other side here. The reason for these circles was to actually demonstrate the movements you could do with the pin in. And I say the pin in because there's a secret coming up soon. So with the pin in, you can move in these positions, right? Up, down, left, right. You can move into the corner. So it does sort of show you the direction that you would move in when you're sliding up, down. Notice there's no diagonal because you can't move diagonally. So I understood that, and I thought, oh, that's kind of neat. What I had suggested, and again, this is, obviously this is up to Jonah, and he's going to decide, or he's going to design whatever he wants to design. I thought maybe it was kind of cool is that if you took these circles and raised them, so instead they were more like divots on the side of a shield. So you could have the bumps here and then add some design elements around here so that it kind of reflected what was on the front with the axe. But then it felt kind of like a shield face maybe on the back. And I think the raised the raised circles here would actually help with grip. So he did say he was open to considering a design for the side, or sorry, for the other face. So I did leave that, I just sort of left that open to him. Okay, so now we move into what was strange to me, felt strange, was this plastic plate. Now, as you can see, the plate is glued on, and this is, I know most sliders will either use metal or they'll use tape or something, and GEEONE instead has used a full plastic sheet, and, or, you know, little plastic plate here. And it does, this thing does glide right over it. The problem is with the glue, and he said this has kind of been an issue. It doesn't affect performance in any way at all, but you get these kind of air bubbles. So if you're opening it up, it doesn't look that nice. And I had said, you know, that kind of kills the aesthetic a bit when you open this thing up and you've got these little air pockets in there. Having said that, again, this isn't the case with everybody's. It's just the one I got. Looks like I got number 15. And so, you know, I don't know if this is how everybody's would look. Again, though, it means nothing when you're using it. I guess it's no different than a slide plate that gets damaged or, you know, scratched up, or even slide tape. So if you think about it that way, this is a pretty minor thing, although he does have, there are holes designed right into the plastic for the magnets, which is kind of cool. So the only thing I had suggested maybe, and he seemed open to it, is that if he took a piece of black opaque plastic instead and laid that over top. So that way you never see anything underneath it, so you won't see the air pockets and won't even know they're there. All right, so this, while this is open, this leads us to the next part. And this is kind of interesting because this sort of flows into sort of what I like about it. Now, so there's a plastic pin, and I was concerned. I said, you know, this plastic pin, what happens if this gets damaged? Because the idea of the pin is to pull it out and to put it back in. Now, the issue is it needs to be plastic in this case so that it's this smooth, it runs smoothly across here. This is aluminum. This is anodized aluminum. And so I guess he's gone through other materials, and the plastic needs to be there. So he did wonder if maybe next time, you know, like he would maybe ship with extra pins, so that an extra pin. So in case something does ever happen that's down the road, you'd have a spare pin to back it up. And I'm sure if something happened to it, if it got damaged, you could always contact GEEONE and just ask for, or, you know, try to get a replacement for it. So aside from the pin, here's where it gets really interesting. Actually, let's leave the pin in first. So I'll show you all the moves. So here's the thing too that's kind of, I'm not as crazy, but again, and it has to do with this design, is to use it properly, you want the pin facing down, which means the side you're looking at when you use it is sort of the more boring side. So let me just, you start to kind of get a flow with this as you move it. Now this is, I call these kind of like a chaos slider because there's no real defined way to use it, right? Like you can move it, because you can kind of slide it left and right because due to the pivot sort of being, it's not a pivot slider in the traditional sense that it's just up and down. It's actually this pivot that lets it move everywhere. And so you can really kind of rotate it. And so that really breaks out of the one click position. Now also, I don't know if you can hear it, but it's pretty quiet, right? It's really pretty quiet. Now you can make it loud by, when you push down, you just kind of like push it off the side a tiny bit, and then you get your clicks. Whereas if you want to be quiet, you just kind of push down on it, and you get more of that swishy sound. So anytime you want to be clicky with it, it's more of like a light touch, right? And you remember, keep it in mind too, they have to align with the magnets. So up here is a bit harder to get it to click because you don't have all of your magnets sort of sitting in line, right? Like you've got a row, of magnets up here. So when you're kind of like offset like this, and you don't have all of your magnets kind of connecting if you're moving on this sideways piece. So you don't get that quite that same snap. Whereas if you keep it in the middle and up one, then you get, you know, a good strong click. So you kind of, I've really gotten used to this. It will take you a little bit to get used to it. It might even take you a bit to come around to liking it. But I can't believe I'm saying this, but it actually feels really good to play with. The size, I would still like it a little smaller, because as much as I love that it's based off of a Zippo lighter, I would never have a Zippo lighter in my hand kind of like flipping and spinning it around, right? So having it a little smaller would be nice, but as you can see, it's still, you can manipulate it really easily. And again, this is not a traditional clicky slider, okay? This is a chaos slider where you just take it and it just feels good to mash it around, just like the JMEB slider, where this is something you're taking, you're mashing it around, and it's not falling apart. Now in this case, it's using the pin. So it's kind of guiding where you can move it, where you can sort of spin it around the pin. However, that plastic pin has the tiniest little notch on the top of it, which might be a little hard to see here, but that gives you a place to grip. And when you grip it, you can pull the pin out, and it is designed to come out. If you go on the site, you'll see it's designed to come out. Now you've got this really, at first, I gotta say again, first I didn't like it, but what this gives you is a super satisfying sort of sliding chaos. Again, it's chaotic, it's a mashup slider, but the magnets keep the two pieces in place. So if you've ever just had two objects, like almost kind of like poker chips, right? Like if you're just sort of like fooling around with poker chips or something, having them so that they can't, or they don't easily separate, is a very satisfying feeling. So I play with this thing. In fact, today I was working on my desk all day and I had this in my left hand. I'm right-handed, but I use where is it here? I use this for work, like as in graphics, so like a tablet and a stylus. And so I'm doing this, and so I have my left hand free, and this works equally well in both hands. So you can actually, if you get to a point where you're really comfortable with it, and of course this never works on camera, but you can see you get almost like a ladder, which is unexpected, but it works. And what's nice is with the pin out, then it doesn't really matter what side you're using. So you can, you can use the textured side, have it facing up. You can stare at that kind of cool, a pretty cool logo. And also you have multiple positions. Because these magnets are inset, there's a row inset in either direction. So you can actually, if you're going to ladder, if you get comfortable with it, you can move out once and ladder down, and then you're kind of like rotating off of the inside magnets. Or you can actually go out to the edge, which doesn't always work, right? But you can go out to the edge and you can ladder off of the edge. Now, stronger magnets would be cool on this, just to be able to do that kind of stuff freely. But this is, I gotta say, once you kind of put your mind into this different sort of mindset of how to use this, this little masher, this little chaos slider is actually a lot of fun. It really, really is. And it's fun only for people that aren't, like when you're not craving that obvious kind of solid, secure slide click that we're used to. Even then, though, you can, right? And without the pin, you can get that double click because you can go higher. You can go beyond where that post should sit. And I think with stronger magnets, you would get that better click. Not that it doesn't click now, but it's sometimes it wants to fly off. So you just have to be careful. But honestly, guys, like I just kind of sit, and this is my favorite thing, is just sort of taking it and mashing up the top. I do bring this in the car with me sometimes. I hold it over the console. And again, I'm just sort of mashing it so like it is like a free slider. Like it's You can do the same thing with your Magnus, obviously, or anything else, right? Like a Wrapped or a Compiform, like any of these things. You can do it with it, but this is meant more for, like this, you can't slide around those other sliders the same way. And I guess it's because of the magnet strength. Like this is the plus or the bonus to it being slightly weaker magnets is being able to just kind of manipulate, mash. Sometimes like when I'm not focusing on something and I'm literally just letting my fingers just randomly move around. That's what this is. This kind of feels like I had at one point these two, and I wish I could remember what they were called, but they were these two, I believe they're Chinese, where there's these two balls with bells in them, and you just kind of spin them around in your hand. That's what this reminds me of. So I think it's actually pretty cool. Again, I was not a fan at first. I really wasn't. Now I'm a big fan. I like it, not for what I want it to be, because at first I wanted it to be a regular slider, but it's not trying to be a regular slider. It's a different category. And again, these kind of go into the chaos. So this and the JMEB, like same kind of concept. These are chaos sliders where they sort of don't conform to regular slider rules. I don't mean to say like they're a rebel and like rules don't follow rules, but just meaning those particular sliders are built a certain way and they have to do a certain thing. This slider does not. There, see, just the pin goes right back in. And then you're right back to kind of, it's more restrictive movement, but again, you can still, if I'm focusing on what I'm doing, like this is one I like doing where I just kind of go around all the outer edges, and that's the pin in there lets me kind of do that. And if I go fast enough, eventually I can start to turn it around at the same time. So, and these things are always so hard to do on camera, guys, but, you get the point. Also, I'm going to show up here, bam. Here's the packaging. So it's packaged really nicely. I don't do unboxings anymore because I find that for me, I open it up and then my first opinion is almost never the same opinion. So I just don't do it. I know some people love it. Sorry, guys. I just don't do them. But the packaging itself, though, nice, great little bag, nice box, some nice care in it, and the card is great. So that's it. That's the Dark Design Nexus. I'm going to put the link up here, and I'll show you the site. So I would absolutely go check it out. Like this is something that it's priced really, really well too. So if you want a fun slider, if you're just kind of getting into sliders, maybe this is something to check out first. Or if you're a seasoned slider and you're kind of tired of the same old thing with how sliders work, this is seriously worth checking out. And then if you reach out and maybe contact Jonah and let him know about your interest, if he gets enough interest in these, he said he might come out with a V2 to kind of incorporate some of the feedback. So I think that'd be pretty cool too. Okay, so that's it, guys. Hope you enjoyed the video, and I do hope you go check out Dark Design. Thanks for watching.